Let me ask you a question. Are you like me and you can't believe there's being weed sold everywhere in America? I mean, it's a Schedule 1 drug. They're thinking about rescheduling it or reclassifying it to Schedule 3. But because of the 2018 Farm Bill, they're selling all this weed that somehow is legal because it's THCA, which is not a restricted drug. And the percentage of THC is low enough, I assume it's just like the Farm Bill, it's got to be less than 0.3% THC by weight. So you've got all this weed available at smoke shops that is just like regular weed. I'm amazed that dispensaries are still staying in business because here in Florida, I haven't checked recently, but we probably got about 600 dispensaries. But they're popping up everywhere and there's never anybody parked out in front of them. I'm not sure what the deal is. But then again, you go to a smoke shop and they're selling 25, 30, 35%, 40% THC weed. And I get it. You multiply it by 0.877 to calculate the actual THC. It's the conversion of THCA to THC. You multiply it by 0.877 to get the real amount of THC. And that's because when you decarboxylate marijuana, when you convert the THCA to THC, it loses a carboxylic acid group, and that has weight. So if the percentage of THCA is 37%, you multiply that by 0.877, and that'll give you the true amount of THC. Now, the problem I have with this is some retailers or manufacturers or growers actually are putting out good product and their lab reports are real. So when you look at something that's 25, 28, 18, 20%, you're like, okay, that's top shelf to very top shelf weed. But then you look at some of the growers and their weed is at 35%, 37%, 41%, and even if you multiply that by 0.877 to get the true amount of THC, I don't think those chemovars or strains are putting out 41% THCA. No way. It's either lab work, that's paid for, or it's just plain old bullshit. I don't know where they're getting their lab reports from. But again, the point of this is that if you're buying weed from a smoke shop, number one, make sure you're, actually getting some type of lab report. Hey, if you love the weed, you love the weed. Number two, the amazing part is that THC, or I should say marijuana, is typically not very high in THC. It's mostly THCA. And then when you smoke it, you get the conversion from THCA to THC. You get the decarboxylation instantaneously when you light it. So it's funny that the federal government is allowing this stuff. I think it's great that the federal government doesn't seem to understand that, you got THCA. It is marijuana, and that's the form in which most marijuana occurs. Although weed you probably buy from a dispensary or from your local friend might have 5% THC and then, 20% THCA. So that would be a 25%, do the math, whatever it is. That'd be a top shelf weed. So that's really interesting. But again, question some of the stuff that's 31, 35, 40% THCA. Even if you do multiply it by the 0.877, some of that's just, it's a little too over the top. But it is pretty cool that THCA is available in America. You can ship it. They ship it to you, and you're like, hey, why even waste your time talking to your local drug dealer? You can buy this stuff from a smoke shop, and it's probably just as good as the stuff at the dispensary. If you like what I had to say, like and subscribe.